We can overdub your voice to the sound of screaming babies.
Don't threaten me with a good time.
Okay, how will I know that people can hear you?
If you can hear me through your screen on Facebook, then people can hear me. Because last time I didn't set it up right. I was a bitch.
You noobed.
I noobed hard. It was crazy.
Uh,
I mean, I'm looking at Facebook. Okay, hold on. There we go.
Yeah, you gotta find my profile.
Yeah.
Don't get weird.
All right. I'm seeing video and I'm hearing stuff. So
Can
I think
can
we're
can
good.
you hear me?
I mean, I'm looking at Facebook. Okay, hold on.
This
Yeah. Not only can I hear you, I can hear myself through Facebook, and it's fucking weird. I'm hearing myself. So
that's
there you go.
that's some professional shit right there.
Yeah.
You really need to
My,
put an avatar on your.
my salubrious tones. Yeah. I was thinking about that. I have relatively recent pictures of myself, but I couldn't figure out how to change my avatar picture.
Brian, you know it's awesome.
what's that?
Chuck looks like in his current picture, he looks like a World War II British commando, and it's fucking epic.
Everyone keeps telling me that, and it's so hilarious. Like Aid was also like, or you could be an RAF squadron commander, and I'm like, fucking dude, what?
Hell yeah,
All
hell
right,
yeah.
how do I change my profile picture?
You can't ask me that while I'm trying to do this. I got like three tech things going on right
Dude, it
now.
was your idea.
Maybe I should have suggested it before we started broadcasting.
Maybe, yeah, it's a good point.
Brilliant. All right, so let's see. So talking about City of Solstice, O'Brien, right? Chuck's got this setting for his game right now, where like think like fantasy stuff, where like is a fantasy city where all the bad guys won, and then you're like the untouchables trying to police the city for the very bad guys who basically screwed everybody over. It's freaking brilliant.
Hmm, that's cool.
What
And
was the
Chuck
hard?
wrote that?
Yeah, Chuck wrote it. Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
we had
I
a game demonstration today, but of course the video blew up in our face.
Gotta love that.
Yup.
okay. Seriously, for the second time in like an hour, my phone has said to me, "Tornado warning, extreme alert."
Is an extreme alert worse than like a regular alert?
Yeah, I would assume so. I feel like Extreme Alert, especially when you get two within an hour, they're like, okay, dude, seriously, we told you to get the fuck out. If you get sucked into a tornado, it's not our fault.
Well, you know, it's. Is it anything like in the movie Crawl?
God, I hope so.
Like you're gonna have alligators in your kitchen and shit. We got J.R. Hanley joining. J.R., you sexy beast. What's going on? J.R. is my publishing brother from another mother.
Nice.
Did he join?
Oh fuck! Now he's comparing me to Bob Ross. Hey
Yeah,
man,
that's classic.
don't you dare encourage him. That kid will take this to a level of weird none of us are confident with.
I never thought of it that way, but that's great.
For fuck's sake, Jr. Me and you are gonna have to have a serious discussion after this.
Why the fuck wouldn't you want to be Bob Ross?
Cause it's Bob Ross. I mean, I do not have that kind of hair, or any.
No, of course not. But you could be like a slightly less cooler version of Bob Ross.
Oh, your
That still sounds better than most people.
your support is overwhelming, and I love you.
Look, I'm not going to be unrealistic. You're not going to be as cool as Bob Ross, but you could be like almost as cool, and that's cooler than almost everyone.
So I'm like only as good as like Roberta Ross.
Yeah, there you go. What's wrong with that?
What the shit? JR is like, I mean, he was a little light in the loafers, dang airman. What the hell?
Look, he went to the shit, and if you haven't been in the shit, then don't talk about the shit. But he was in the shit, and then he came home and he taught people how to draw happy little trees, and he was really stoned all the time. And that
Wasn't
is
that
his
Mr.
right,
Rogers?
having been in the shit.
No, Mr. Rogers didn't draw happy trees.
No,
Yeah,
we're
he
talking
did.
about Bob Ross.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I thought you were
Mr.
talking
Rogers was
about.
also in the shit, I believe.
Yeah, I thought you were
But
talking about Mr. Rogers for a sec there.
Yeah, wasn't he a mailman?
I thought he was a sniper.
I think
I'm
Mr.
serious. I
Rogers
really
was a
thought he was a
Marine.
sniper.
I don't know that he was a Marine sniper, but I think he was a Marine. Just like Bob Ross.
Oh God, this is gonna get to a level of weird that no.
Hang on, Mr. Rogers.
Are you googling Mr. Rogers?
I have to.
What the hell? So for those of you just joining us and seeing the awful that is my artwork, we're with my brother from another mother, Mr. Brian Dembrosco, who is a horror aficionado and aspiring filmmaker, and then we have Mr. Chuck Rice, who wrote a. Chuck has just written a project that's on Kickstarter for an old school role playing game, and why don't you hit us with the premise, Chuck?
So the elevator pitch for City of Solstice is that it's the Untouchables in a fantasy world. So imagine, if you're unfamiliar with the concept of the Untouchables, they were kind of the uncorruptible cops in Prohibition era Chicago. They weren't CSI guys who were looking into microscopes. They were kicking down doors and busting stills, and that is a concept that always appealed to me, and I think it translates pretty well to fantasy gaming.
Right on.
So the city has been taken over by the bad guys. The bad guys basically won, but that doesn't mean there isn't room for good guys to do good. And so my concept for that is, well, think about cops, because often cops work in very corrupt situations, even though the cops themselves are good guys.
Got a couple cops in the feed right now. People joining up, seeing what trouble I'm trying to get into. Normally I'm all talking dirty on this stuff, but nobody believes that. Yeah, we had a cool ass playtest today for this property, and then, of course, everything went to hell in a handbasket.
Technology working against you, as it always does.
Right? We don't judge. So if like if folks want to like check out the Kickstarter, where's the address for that? Do you have like a cool little shortened link? Is that a no? You gonna leave me hanging? It's messed up.
The address that Kickstarter gave me is City of Solstice, a setting for OSR fantasy campaigns.
Dear Lord, didn't I give you a shortened link?
Oh yeah, you gave me a Bitly link, but I can't pronounce that. I could paste it into the chat.
Yeah, do that. That would be dynamic. Angie's loving my voice. Thank you. I've been working very hard to eradicate my accent and sound like an announcer at like the porn Olympics.
The Plimpics.
The Olympics.
That's the link. Can the folks listening to that see it, or is that just for those of us who are in the call? Did you see it?
No,
I
that's
just
just
saw.
for us in the call. Yeah, you got to put it on the face space thing. Don Ramsey, yes, Donnie. Donnie's got my saying up there. He's like, "Don't get weird."
Okay, so I need to. Okay, I got you. Hold on.
Where's there a chat going on? Yeah. And I don't have Facebook. Right?
Okay, there. Yes. And there you go. Look at the full title. A setting for OSR fantasy campaigns. It's almost as though Kickstarter gave me that title because that was the title I gave the thing. So they gave the title back to me.
They're trying to help you win.
They they totally are. Especially because if I win, they get 5% of that win. And getting 5% of someone else's win sounds way better than having to go to all the trouble to win on your own.
It's true. What's that old saying, Brian? Help me, help you.
Yes, help me help you.
So Donnie is a guy that I work with. Donnie's in the chat right now, and he's like, "I hope you guys are living by my motto, right?" So Donnie's motto is famous where I work, and it's "F you, pay me." He doesn't care. He's like, you need me to do something? Pay
Words to
me.
live
I
by.
got you. Yep, words to
That's
live
a
by.
that's Goodfellas, right? Fuck you, pay me.
Is it?
Yeah.
There's a guy that owes Robert De Niro money, and the guy's on the phone, and he literally just starts choking him with the cord of his own
You know
phone,
what?
and just
Yeah,
saying,
he
"Fuck
does.
you, pay me. Fuck you, pay me."
Yeah, that's brilliant, man. That's brilliant. So yeah, we're just doing a little sketch. Like I
How come we
said,
can't see what you're doing?
you got to go to Face Space, bro.
What the shit? I can't do
Well,
that.
I'm sorry. There's only so much I can do with this technology, man.
Well,
I mean, if I was like some of the
can
cool
you?
kids, like Donnie throwing another bomb in the chat. Mama didn't raise no bitch. Um, but what do you call it? Uh, Josh Hayes, I think. I thought I saw him creep in.
So there's another feed on Facebook.
Yeah, that's going out with this video because right now this video is casting to Facebook. But Josh,
I, okay, I get you. OBS is doing its thing. Now you have this chat along with that
We're
while you're drawing.
shoutcasting.
yes,
We can only see half the stream, or we're on half the stream. I
no,
get it.
you can only see half the stream. I can see it
But yeah, you
all.
can. It doesn't help me though. Um,
Right. So, but yeah,
oh
we got
man.
a little stream going. What's going on in the horror vein, Brian?
Um, Not much. Unfortunately, like they've I think like the Adams Family is out right now.
Yeah, because
But
that's horrible.
it's almost like claymation. Actually, it looks pretty good, but
It's
um
kind of in the original art style of the original comic, really,
yeah.
Nice.
and that's cool to me, and
Yeah, no,
probably
it
at
looks
least
pretty cool.
15 other old fuckers like me.
You're not old. You're seasoned. Brian tells me that all the time when we're practicing kung fu, and he's kicking me in the shin with his combat boots.
Sorry about that.
You know, you don't.
Donnie is asking if we can link Facebook to our active call. Of course,
Sure.
Donnie's also saying Mama didn't raise no bitch. So
Well, apparently she did, because I don't know what he's talking about. I think he's talking. I think he wants me to link. I think he wants me to link the Facebook video to the call that we're on, so Brian can see it.
Yeah, it's cool. Black Christmas is coming out.
Black Christmas. Oh God. Do you
Yep.
remember last year all those Krampus movies that came out?
yeah,
Krampus was amazing
Oh my God.
with those elves,
everyone decided Krampus was going to be a thing.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's just like Hollywood kind of moves like a flock of birds, right? It's like all of a sudden there are like 3 asteroid movies hitting the Earth.
Hey, I
I
like a
still,
good disaster movie.
I still want to see that Critters movie.
Oh God. You poor man.
I'm sorry, B-rate horror is amazing.
Well, that's why they have podcast shows right now called "This Is Why Daddy Drinks."
Yeah.
But also, if you need a B disaster movie, Birdemic is still there for you. Just watch that,
Or
or watch the MST3K version
right.
of Birdemic.
What about zombies?
I have not seen Zombies.
Donnie's saying that only one of the Krampus movies was decent. Which one, Donnie? Let a brother know. Holy extreme close up, Brian. Dear Lord, that was crazy. Dude, I just got motion sickness. Feel like some Assassin's Creed shit. If you start jumping from couch to couch, we're gonna have an issue.
Unfortunately, I'm on a weird tablet, so it's a little different. And excuse the background. I got like pictures of what is that, a dove or something eating something? No, it's a dragon.
Yeah, because a dove and a dragon are totally the same.
Basically the same thing.
So Chuck, with City of Solstice, what kind of horror? Since we're in the month of horrorly love, and I don't mean horror love, I mean horror. Like,
The same thing.
Yeah, horror, not horror. Got
yes,
it.
yeah. What kind of horror elements can people expect to find in City of Solstice?
Well, there's always going to be overtones of that because I'm a sword and sorcery guy. Like a lot of people are into Tolkien, and I get that. But when I start designing anything fantasy, my brain goes away from Tolkien and toward Robert E. Howard and um, to a much less racist extent H.P. Lovecraft. Um,
Well, they were all like contemporaries, right? They were all just chilling with each
they
other.
were totally contemporaries, yeah. But H.P. Lovecraft was the most racist of them all, perhaps. But yeah, so there's always going to be some horror. There's going to be some eldritch gods. My players are currently they raided a brothel called the Dryad Club.
Yep, there's that horror theme we were talking about.
And so it's the Dryad Club because they had an actual dryad there. Like they had transplanted a dryad's tree from the forest into the city.
So for
Um,
people who don't speak that, what is a dryad?
so dryads are forest nymphs, but they're bound to their tree. So if you were to burn down a dryad's tree, the dryad would die. If you were to cut it down, the dryad would die. If you were to move it, so dryads literally can't move beyond a certain distance from their tree. So so this poor woodland creature had been forced into prostitution. And so the players raided it, but in the midst of the raid, they let loose a couple of demons, and they did not have sufficient magical weapons to hurt the demon. So now they are going to an abandoned monastery by the Five Forms monks that you began the chat talking about, Walt, because they have heard that there's a magic weapon there that will allow them to kill the demon.
Sounds suitably creepy.
But literally, this thing just waltzed through the party, having been trapped by the madam of the Dryad Club. When it got free, it went for the madam and just rended her limb from limb. The party was attacking it, but their weapons were completely not hurting it.
Right on. So it's almost like overtones of Conan and stuff like that.
Yes, yeah. Robert E. Howard is definitely my kind of go-to fantasy author. I believe the Tower of the Elephant, which is a Conan story in which Conan decides to rob a wizard's tower. And when he gets to the top of the tower, he discovers that the wizard's power is completely from this poor alien creature. The wizard has just trapped it. and and again, when I say alien, it's in the H.P. Lovecraft sense of magic exists in outer space. And so this poor alien creature has been trapped by the wizard and is in fact the sole source of the wizard's power. And so Conan gets up there, he thinks he's going to find some sweet loot. Uh, and
I just love that
there,
you said sweet loot.
yeah, I'm a fan of sweet loot, fine booty, all that good stuff.
What the hell?
So um, the creature who was he was kind of an elephant man, by which I mean not Merrick, the elephant man, but he literally was a humanoid with an elephant head. Uh, he's been hobbled by this wizard, like he literally couldn't walk out. He just begs Conan to kill him, and Conan does. That's how the story ends. Conan puts an end to this wizard's reign of terror by killing his captive elephant man.
Didn't in the second Conan movie, wasn't that a horrible bastardization of Tower of the Elephant?
Uh, a little bit. Every Conan movie has borrowed a thing here or there from Conan stories, but no one has ever been willing to just take a Conan story and turn it into a movie like you would with an author that had any modicum of respect. And I feel like if you were to just take an actual Conan story, The Frost Giant's Daughter, The Tower of the Elephant, and just turn it into a movie, it would be way better than any of that shit that has been made into movies.
Hmm.
Well, the only reason that the latest Conan movie did anything was because a whole bunch of girls wanted to see Jason Momoa with his shirt off.
Yeah, and it was and they also had Rose McGowan as an evil witch in that
But she
movie.
was like bald and she had like these weird fingernail things going on. It was creepy.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Brian, did you see the last Conan movie?
No,
You were very
no,
lucky.
I've only seen the originals with Arnold.
Yeah.
Are they still gonna do a King Conan? Like
You know, that would be all right, in my opinion. Again, though, would they actually take a Conan story? Um, I believe Hour of the Dragon is King Conan. Would they actually take a story and adapt it? I doubt it. I'm sure they're just going to make a very generic fantasy action movie with Arnold.
and the thing about Robert E. Howard too is that how do you translate that to today? You know, I mean, how many people are you gonna offend with those stories? Because you can't put those stories up and not offend somebody.
I mean, again, I think some of them you could, yes. You could not do Queen of the Black Coast, for example. That is a story that would offend all sorts of people. But I think you could do Hour of the Dragon. Literally, Hour of the Dragon, as I recall, he's Conan is in his 60s. He's been king for quite a while. He's getting ready to go into battle. Someone ensorcels him, literally paralyzes him, and his subordinate has to go fight the battle for him. Loses Conan loses his kingdom. A slave girl rescues him. I feel like you could make a movie out of that people wouldn't be horribly offended by. You would just have to have less nudity. In the Howard version, the woman that rescues him and winds up helping him regain his kingdom is, of course, just walking around wearing a skirt and nothing else.
There's nothing wrong with that. I do that all the time.
But yeah, you kind of have two problems. To some extent, it's not politically correct. This is exactly the problem the John Carter movie had. To some extent, it's not politically correct, but then to some extent, so many people have already ripped off Conan and John Carter that if you show it straight today, people are going to be like, "Oh, he's ripping off the Lord of the Rings, or he's ripping off the Peter Jackson movies of the Lord of the Rings," when in fact it's the other way around.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, even they tried doing Solomon Kane, and even that
Yeah,
movie didn't do well.
yeah,
Because I mean, how do you? The only Puritan like story that I've seen in recent years that did any sort of well, and just because of how grim it was, and I think people were really shocked at the ending. Was The Witch.
yeah. That was a good movie too.
We saw that, Brian.
The witch is cool.
Yeah, just the ending of that. I mean,
Yeah,
because
the witch was cool.
you get that meandering middle before the all the family turmoil happens, and it's like all of a sudden shit goes insanely bonkers, and this Puritan family has to now deal with the concept of black magic, and the ending is just like, what the hell what did I just watch?
Yeah,
Because it was paced
Yeah.
for that time period. So like, instead of like, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith hopping into a Jaguar and shooting up the streets of Miami, it's got a Puritan pacing. The story has that pacing for that time period. So like, when all of a sudden things go batshit crazy at the end, and you're just like, what am I watching? You're really surprised, and I think that's why that movie did as well as it did.
yeah. I think, however, yeah, there are several Conan stories that you could definitely translate. They'd be darker, I guess, than most people expect them to be, but like even the Frost Giant's daughter, I think would translate pretty well. Conan's, I don't know if he's a barbarian or if he's already a soldier working as a mercenary for a civilized army, but either way, he's on guard duty and he sees this incredibly beautiful naked woman and he just chases her into the snow. And she's the Frost Giant's daughter who literally is running this game where she attracts men who are hot for her because she's beautiful and naked running through the snow. And she leads them to her brothers who are Frost Giants who then just murder them.
This
I'd
doesn't
watch that
happen to you
movie.
on a Tuesday?
No, not yet, but I would watch that movie.
Oh crap! I broke my feed for my camera. Let's see. Does that work? There we go.
You're breaking the feed?
Well, I got some like serious jerry rigging going on for one of my cameras that I'm drawing, so that people can see what I'm doing as we're talking about the city of Solstice on Kickstarter now. Um,
Word.
yeah, right. So, the what do you call it? I bumped my arm into the stand for the camera, and it just went tumbling, which I'm sure makes absolutely cool video for people to watch.
I've just posted the link again. I'm just going to spam the chat.
Right on. Oh, I mean, but yeah, I thought the idea of
How
like,
many days left on the Kickstarter?
We're only 8 days in. I want to say 22, 21, something like that.
yeah, we got some
Okay,
time, But I mean,
that's cool.
I just thought it was a cool ass idea. You have a city that was kind of like imagine Lord of the Rings, and you have this city that oh, shut up, phone. You have this city that thrives on like this ethereal magic, and then all of a sudden the axe comes down. You have this huge instance of like all these crime families who are not getting anywhere because there's always some goody two shoes guy who comes up and, don't worry, I'll stop you, and I'll stop and take 5 minutes for a photo op to kiss babies for when I run for office later. You know, you always got that like knight in shining armor who's ready to defend the realm, and so the families start working together, and they like murder everybody, and then they murder the guy who like runs the town, and then they take over. And then when you come in, you're a guy who probably either was conscripted, or you're a guy that pretty much had some shitty prospects other than that. So you join the city watch because you don't want to, be like shoveling coal in the mines or any of this other stuff. And the idea of like the untouchables, in a fantasy setting, I thought was pretty damn cool. Well, not only because of I'm a huge fan of the untouchables. Um, hey, Jr. Just shared the link, so he's doing his part. Um,
Totally.
JR is good people, man. But I mean, the cool thing about it is, in the Untouchables, the big black eye that was going on at the time was Prohibition. And for the City Watch and City of Solstice, um, it's not liquor, it's mysticism.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you have that whole,
Hmm.
there's that scene at the beginning of David Mamet's amazing Untouchables movie where he, Kevin Costner as Elliot Ness tells the cops, I know some of you take a drink. That has to stop. And so that's the conundrum that the players find themselves in. It's our magic is illegal. You're the cops. Are you going to use magic? And of course, to a certain extent, they do.
It's kind of like
Hmm.
the cops of today. I mean, a civilian can't own certain weapons and stuff like that, but the cops can. You know,
Right.
because the cops are under a certain restriction or what have you. So, you know, they have the ability to use those weapons to combat some of the nastiness that people do. So, of course, I would assume that the five families would probably overlook some of their skullbusters uh, breaking down and actually, using a trick or two in order to. Am I still on camera? I got to remember. I got to keep this image in the feed so that people can see what I'm doing. Otherwise, that's boring TV. Not that I'm Bob Ross or anything, because we've covered that. I don't have the hair. Um,
If you could have the hair, would you just rock the white guy fro 24/7 Bob Ross style?
no, I'd have to go with the mullet.
Okay, all right,
Definitely
I
have
love
to
it.
go with the mullet.
Yeah, party in the back. I can see
Yeah,
that about you all.
That's
yeah.
not
Yeah,
right.
Business in the front, party in the
Hmm.
back.
yeah.
It'll be epic. What about you, Brian? What would you rock?
Clown wig.
Clown wig.
Excellent.
Yeah, we already know what Chuck rocks.
Like multicolored clown wig.
Yeah, you would. You would. You'd go for that killer clown from outer space vibe.
Yeah, look, I didn't grow this
Oh,
ponytail
absolutely.
accidentally.
What was that, Chuck?
I didn't grow this ponytail accidentally. You can't really tell from that picture you were talking about, Walt,
Right?
but I am, in fact, the thing that would cause no one to mistake me for a RAF squadron commander and or a World War II British commando is the fact that if I were to take that picture from the back, you'd see that I have a ponytail like down to the small of my back. That would get me booted right out of any British armed forces.
Pretty much. Unless you were a Sikh and hid it under a turban.
Oh, yeah, yeah. There you go. I don't think anyone would mistake me for a Sikh, however.
Got to be the coolest religion ever, though. Okay, so anywhere you go, you got to go armed and wear this cool hat.
Yeah. And be prepared. Sikhs are basically real world paladins, I feel like. Armed at all times, and then be prepared to use your weapon, but for good.
Right?
Hmm.
Defend the faith kind of deal.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But also defend the weak, right? A Sikh will defend anyone.
Pretty much. Gotta be, like I said, gotta be the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I just want the hat. Because, I mean, I can grow a kick ass beard. But like my when I do grow my hair out
We
now,
can order
it's
one for you on eBay.
what you can order one. No, we did. Remember the Halloween party that one year? But like my hair is like
Oh
is
yeah,
is
yeah, we did.
totally white now. So I'm ancient enough now to where I grow that thing out. I'm gonna look like Clint Eastwood and Dudley Do Right had a love child. Not really liking that laugh, Chuck. George
Try to
Gerling,
grow a mohawk.
who is a no, I'm not going to grow a mohawk. George Gerling, who is a guy I served with in Iraq. What's going on, Doc? He wants to know where's my coffee. Mi café está aquí, amigo. Right there, buddy. So don't you worry about a thing. Caffeine and hate are the two principles on which I
Tango
love.
me no pantalones.
No, you have pants. Don't get weird.
I hope everyone has pants. Certainly, everyone that's on video right now should have pants.
you you broke out the Spanish. I only know bad Spanish. Let's do this.
Yeah, but you have the like the bad Spanish phrase book too. J.R. Hanley tried to grow a beard and looked like the
Hang on.
Unabomber. Nope, do not get the book. Nope, we're not here to talk bad Spanish.
Hang
We're
on,
here
get the book. Too late.
JR, but do you have an awesome manifesto? That's what we really want to know.
J.R. is writing kick-ass fiction right now.
But I'm saying the Unabomber beard is nothing without the Unabomber manifesto.
That is true.
Now, sadly, the manifesto is what got him busted. His brother was like, "I know who wrote that shit."
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yep.
Yeah, I hate it when my brother reads
He
my
had a
manifesto.
copy of it.
Yeah,
So
I
J.R.
hate it when
is
my brother calls the FBI about my manifesto.
J.R. is saying having pants and wearing them are different things.
That's true.
And
Okay.
now he's saying he's
It's true.
going to have to construct a manifesto.
Look, I think everyone needs a manifesto. Yeah.
Mine
It just
would.
sucks when your brother calls the FBI on your manifesto.
So
That's
what-
when things have taken a bad turn.
What would your manifesto, like? What would be some key points of a manifesto as read by somebody from the city of Solstice?
Well, so it's
That laugh, he's already written it.
Right? You do realize you have like a Bond villain laugh.
do I?
Yes,
Oh,
you do.
All right. Well, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, you
Um,
definitely have a villain laugh.
Wow. Like I can't laugh without sounding evil. What the fuck? So yeah, the interesting thing. So as my players have gone through adventuring in the city of Solstice, they've actually been kind of trying to walk a line. Like they're obviously trying to not draw the attention of the Star Society, and so it's interesting. Well, I liked your take on the bad guys taking over, but it's not just that they work together, although obviously that's key when you have 5 formerly rival criminal families working together.
Huge crime families.
Yeah, shit can go bad. Just ask New York. But it's also so there was an astrological event called Black Night where there was no moon
That was
and there
during
was
the
no
disco
star.
era, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Black Nights were every Thursday at Studio 51. um, so so there was no moon and there was no stars. And on that night, everyone who operated by stealth was going to be more powerful. And so when the 5 families realized this, that was really the cue for them to get together. But you have an Elven Assassins Guild, you have the Church of the Moon, you have a mercenary guild, the evil monks that of course drew your attention, and an evil thieves guild. So anyone who operates by stealth is going to be more powerful. That obviously applies to all 5 of these, and they were working together on the same night.
That's some creepy shit. So like, what's some of the highlights of Solstice? Like, we got the map up, so like people can kind of see in the feed. I mean, you got my drawing kind of blocking it for a second, but we can always kill the video capture for that for a second, and people can see a good chunk of the city. So like, what's what are some of the the key points? Like, if you wanted to check out the Kickstarter or whatever, what are some highlights? Like, you got this bar is pretty cool. Stay away from this place; they'll rob you blind and leave you in the alley naked.
So, um, you got a glimpse in the playtest that we did today of the Inn of the Ale and Folktale. That was actually one of the first um, places that I established, um, and the players being members of the City Watch, and that's kind of my fantasy version of a cop bar. They hang out there, but they were super interested the moment they found out there's a rival uh, bar to the Inn of the Ale and Folktale. And I mentioned to you guys today when we were doing the adventure that the only member of the watch that you had never seen in the Inn of the Ale and Folktale was your boss, Ancient Sergeant Fox, because he hangs out in the rival bar, and there's this bitter rivalry between that bar and the Inn of the Napping Gnome, which is run by a gnome, and literally he feeds you these huge meals and gives you this very rich beer, and then he'll rent you a couch so you can take a nap in the bar before you go home.
Sounds
And
like
that's
my
where
kind of place.
the sergeant hangs out. So my players were they had already kind of swore their allegiance to the Ale and Folktale, but they were super interested in the fact that there were these two super cozy bars that just hate each other.
Is one for the cops that are on the take, and one for the cops that are not, or is there like
It's not
cater to
that.
everybody?
No, because the Folktale has a bunch of the cops on the take, so it's definitely not that. Um, my players have really not yet found out the source of the rivalry. Although they have found out that it's personal to the extent that the owners of the two bars really hate each other.
Is it like they keep sabotaging each other's signs or something like that?
Um,
If it's gonna spoil it, don't tell me.
yeah, no, that hasn't been discovered yet. You've got Mason Sharp, the owner of the Folktale. He's again, they're both like friendly guys. Like that's part of I think why my players are interested in it. They're like, what? Did one of these guys sleep with the other's wife? Like, what the hell is going on? Because they're both. So you've got a human named Mason Sharp who runs Folktale, and then there's a gnome named Figment the Fantastic who runs the Napping Gnome.
Of course
Um,
there is. So, I mean, did they steal each other's nacho recipes?
right.
Are
No one,
nachos
no
even a
one,
thing?
no one is sure. No one has discovered that yet. That's I like to play my secrets close to my vest. So no one knows the answer to that question yet.
Right on.
Um, Although they have discovered, I will reveal. Um, Mason Sharp has brilliant blue eyes, and one of my players believes that they're illusionary and thinks that Figment literally cast a spell to turn his eyes blue.
Hmm. In today's day and age, we have contacts for that.
Yes, that is true. I would say something else that my players have discovered that they're interested in is there's a guy that lives in the Gentry Ward named Mr. Colic, and he wears all white, and he lives in this fortified manor house called Alabaster House because the walls are whitewashed, the building is white, all the carpets are white,
So it's a little on the
and
nose, right?
yeah, my players can't decide. Uh, they go back and forth. They either think he's a serial killer or a paladin.
Ooh, yeah, because those guys are outlawed too. Hey, George
Correct.
had a question in the chat. Um, he said, "Is this just a campaign setting, or does it also include an adventure of some kind?" Can you give these guys some of the elevator pitch?
So on the Kickstarter, I have what I call a DM tier that includes the core book. So I would estimate that the core book is about 75% written. I have about 150 pages done, but I'm still working on it, and I'm still play testing it to a certain extent. Um, but the DM tier includes the core book and 4 adventures. So I have um, at least 6 adventures written that I would consider publishable. It's been my home campaign for quite a while, um, and so it is primarily a source book. There's going to be adventures. Again, I'm committing if you take the DM tier, the first 4 adventures that I've written, the day it funds, you're going to get the core book as it currently exists and 4 adventures, and then when it's all edited and laid out, and I have professional maps done for the adventures, you're going to get those as they are finished. Um, I don't like the idea of including adventures in the core book, and I don't have 100% um, logical reason why I don't like that. As a consumer of books, I always didn't like books being in the book because I feel like players are going to buy the book, and so any adventures that come with the book itself, I never felt like I could run them. But it's definitely to me, like when I did After Zombies, which was kind of my last big book project. It seems like it came out in the late '70s, but it was 6 years ago that I published
And that
After
artwork.
Zombies.
Oh my God, that artwork.
Yeah, that's John Gibbons. Uh, I I I published 10 adventures for After Zombies. I feel like to me, publishing a game book without adventures is I don't get it. I don't understand the point. It almost feels like if you're publishing a game and you don't have adventures for it, then you aren't actually running it. Is kind of what the paranoid part of my brain says to me about books like that.
Now the thing is, you got some pretty dark themes in this. Say like you got somebody who's never played a game like this before and they want to, but the themes are kind of dark. Are you gonna have suggestions for shining a light on things so it's not so creepy?
Well, yeah, it's interesting when you always have this moment when you take a thing that you've just kind of been working on, and it's just been a thing that I've been doing with me and my players, and then you bring it out into the world and you see how other people view it. um the game itself, at least the way I run it, is not nearly as dark as I think people expect it to be, who've just kind of gotten the elevator pitch from me. Um, for example, so the first adventure is what I started running for you guys today. That was the first adventure I wrote. It was the first adventure I ran. However, the second adventure is called Catch of the Day, and there's a guy in the game named Stolid Stafford. That's what everyone calls him. He's a very taciturn gentleman who runs a fish fry stand.
You've been
Like
waiting all
literally,
day to say taciturn, haven't you?
yes. So he's literally runs like a food truck on the side of the road, the medieval version of it. So a roadside fish fry place, and he's looking for his grandfather's legendary fish batter recipe. And so
What the hell?
that was the second adventure. Was the players went into his family catacomb, which is filled with undead, to look for a legendary fish batter recipe. So it's not quite as dark. Now look, it can go there. I would actually say the darkest it's gotten so far is the most recent adventure where they raided the brothel, and you have people who have been basically forced into prostitution. Um, and I actually had some thoughts about how well that would play for people I don't know, right? When I'm running it in my home session, these are players that I've been gaming with since I was in college. So I've known them going on 30 years. So
So
I
they know
know
your
how
game
they're going to react.
style. They know you're not out to just do exploit stuff.
Right.
They gotcha.
Yeah. They know I'm not going to make it creepy. And again, the kind of my personality and the way I run things, like as they were raiding the brothel, one of the encounters they had was there was a room with an older lady in her 50s and a centaur. And the players just open the door and they
That's
see
weird.
this woman in a room with a centaur, and they're just like, we're sorry to disturb you, ma'am. And they just closed the door and continued on.
That's almost got some shades of like that new Amazon series. What is that? Something Row, Carnival Row. Have you
Yeah,
seen that?
Carnival Row. I haven't seen it. I've heard about it, and I know they released the free RPG to promote it.
No kidding. I didn't know they had an RPG. What is it? What is it for?
It's I think it's Savage Worlds.
Right on. Brian's sitting there going, I have no idea what you geeky fuckers are talking about.
No idea.
You're just here for
Nope.
the gore, doom, and gloom, aren't you?
I mean, isn't that all there is?
What the hell? So like, the players are part of the city watch. So if somebody who's running this wants to kind of indoctrinate people into the city, so they get the feel and they get the kind of the taste of what this city is like. Because I mean, a really great city made up in a story is almost a character in and of itself. I mean, look at Gotham City.
Totally.
When you say that, that's like boom. That hits you because you automatically. I mean, you equate it to any city that you've been in where there's a high crime rate. The areas are run down because businesses are failing. Uh, People want to hope, but when you walk in the street, everybody's got their heads down. Um, what what kind of threats can like somebody who's just getting into this play around with and try and establish that theme? Is it all crime based because of the tone, or is there like for people who like things like Lord of the Rings or the Conan books, are there elements of that kind of creepiness that they can get into as well?
So I would say, again, the things that I enjoy about D&D. And I should say the campaign setting is for Osric, which is reverse engineered first edition D&D, also known as AD&D. Um, I there's it's definitely not just crime. Like crime fiction is definitely a huge influence on it, and you have things like um, the the adventure that I started to run for you guys today, which is the first adventure that I wrote for the setting and I'm going to release for the setting. Um, it's basically the villain is a slumlord. Spoilers. I feel like you guys already got uh, to that point. Um, it's a guy trying to clear out a building that he owns, so he can do something more profitable with it. So you do have things like that, which is very much a kind of police procedural type. It's a thing that could happen on Law and Order, right? Um, but then the next adventure that I ran to kind of set the tone for my players was them in this undead filled catacomb beneath this rich guy's house. They were literally exploring his family catacomb, and it was full of undead. Um, so you can. I tried to create a setting such that I could do everything that I enjoy in fantasy gaming, selfishly. Um, so you can go back and forth between dungeon delving and city based adventures without leaving the city.
So you can indulge in your love of Law and Order Medieval Victims Unit.
Very much. They are, yes. Many of them are medieval victims. Yes. And then you have things like um one of the players in my playtest group is a martial artist, and his character is getting near the point. Um, he's not actually a member of the monastery, but he trains there. But his master uh, was a high ranking member of the Five Forms monastery who left, and so he's just teaching students privately out of his rich manor house. But he keeps telling his student who's still a member of the monastery, he's like, "Well, if you stay, you're gonna have to duel to rise through the ranks," which is part of the monk class, as we all know. Um, but um, yeah, so his character is still a member of the monastery, and he's just kind of looking around, and he's being told, you know, you're getting close ish, because currently my players are fourth level, but this player is fully aware that once he gets to seventh level, he's going to have to fight a duel to the death with another monk from his monastery.
I hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Brian and I have been doing martial arts for a good portion of our lives. We hate dueling because you can't after you throw a savage beat down, you can't bring that dude for a burger. Well, you
Yeah.
can, but I mean, it's weird walking into you walk into like the medieval Applebee's, and one guy's eye is swollen shut, another guy is like, his lips bleeding, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, that was amazing, that was awesome."
And so none of my players actually know this yet. Um, but what they're eventually going to learn, um, is that if you stay in the Five Forms monastery, when you start killing your fellow monks, you earn unique key powers for doing so. There's a weird mysticism involving the monastery where they have additional key powers that you can only learn by killing the monk above you, Mega Man style.
Oh, can you imagine that?
It's
Go to
pretty
your
cool.
local dojo and beat a brother down so bad that you earn a tax break. That'd be tight.
And by tax break, I mean
They take a
the
skill,
ability
right?
to use your key to turn invisible.
Oh, turning invisible. That would be fantastic. Patrick
And go find
Enos.
those tree hookers.
Don't get weird.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, he was talking. He was talking about the dryads.
Oh yeah, tree hookers. Got it. Yes. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? Got it. Tree hookers.
Yeah, Brian's on the level. He knows about story construction.
You always know where they're going to be.
Brian's the guy who sits on the couch and during a horror movie will be sitting there, analyzing the murder scenes for the maximum like gore and effect and stuff like that. And then he'll go, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. Fast forward through the character moments. I don't want to hear him talking. I just want to see him dying.
Guys, they just walked into a
True.
garage full of chainsaws. This is gonna be great.
Oh my god.
What was it? What was that movie? Hereditary.
Oh my god. Yeah, don't spoil it for people who haven't seen it. Blah. Nasty. That was
Let's just say there's one part of Hereditary you need to watch like 5 times in reverse.
nasty. That whole
Five,
section.
5 times in reverse. Okay.
Yeah, it was.
It's absolutely hilarious.
Hey, did you see the guy who did Hostel and a couple of those other movies? He's got a new horror movie coming out.
What
No.
is it?
Now you're gonna make me look. Okay.
Fuck, we're looking
Hang on, I'm
shit up
looking.
now.
Is it James Wan?
Yeah. He's got. I saw the video for it on YouTube the other day, and I was like, oh my god, I gotta tell somebody. This is awesome.
Well, the Curse of La Rona.
La Llorona, did you watch it?
That was him. That was James. No, not yet. That was James Wan.
Oh
It
my
has to
god,
be good.
Curse of La Llorona was really really good.
He did Aquaman too.
We don't
I didn't
judge.
know he did Aquaman. The Nun.
Aquaman's all right.
He did Saw.
Wait, the Saw guy directed Aquaman?
Mortal Kombat. Yes.
Huh.
Malignant. Yeah, Malignant, Poppy.
That might be it.
James Wan. Uh,
Uh, we're drawing
they haven't.
a like
They haven't
Assassin's
given much
Creed,
detail on it yet.
Assassin's Creed style monk for the Kickstarter campaign for what do you call it, for Chuck's Kickstarter that he's running right now. So Chuck, some of these evil monks call themselves the Fist of the Five Forms. What are the five forms, or can't you tell us? Would that spoil something?
It's pretty much Shaolin. It's crane, tiger, monkey. That's probably a very disappointing answer to some people, but in fact, they're 5 animal forms.
Do you have Drunken Monkey too?
Platypus.
So that's not an explicit style. However, the highest ranking. So each different animal, they're tiered, and of the monkey tier, the highest ranking monkey martial artist is Drunken Monkey, and he's a multi-class bard monk. And I think he might be one of the most dangerous of the monks that I've created.
So did part of the film that inspired that could have been Iron Monkey? Did you see that film?
Oh, I love Iron Monkey. I would say he's more inspired by Jackie Chan's Drunken Master.
Oh my God.
Although Iron Monkey is probably one of my five favorite martial arts movies. Let's see. I'm gonna say Iron Monkey. I'm gonna say Drunken Master. I'm gonna say Flashpoint. Tell me you see Flashpoint, Walt.
Come on. Don't get weird.
All right. Yeah, you're right. What was I thinking? That Donnie Yen Colin Chu fight at the end of Flashpoint is probably one of my favorite movie martial arts fights of all time.
Right on.
Um, I'm a huge fan of the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel.
That sequel was pretty good, especially
Yeah,
that fight in the beginning.
yeah. See, the original movie is a better movie, but the sequel is a better martial arts movie. And
Right
it's
on.
directed by Wu Ping, for crying out loud. Uh, uh, Also known as the director of Iron Monkey, also known as the fight choreographer from the Matrix movies. Um,
So hey, so before we sign out and I'll eventually post this drawing I've been working on
mhm.
and paste back speed round. So if I want to run a campaign like the City Watch battling Hostile, which is very rich people paying for the pleasure of killing somebody. What ward in the city of Solstice would I do that in?
Huh.
Don't leave me hanging.
Definitely the Citizens Ward.
Well, it'd probably be Gentry, right?
No, actually, because all the rich people have left the Gentry Ward.
Well, that's what I
Um.
mean. That would be their hunting ground.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Um.
I feel like we need a battle pit.
So there is actually in the Forest Ward there is an arena. By the way, I would
What about the
actually
secluded isle?
Secluded Isle is a pretty good choice. Maybe that um, just to the east of the Secluded Isle, there's another couple of smaller islands that are there are a couple of rich farming families that live there, but they're not technically part of the town. Um, Probably the Citizens Ward because you've got the Gentry Ward, which is very poor, and then you've got the Spring Ward, which is very rich. And so, right in between those, you've got the Citizens Ward.
Right on. If I wanted to do, let's see, if I wanted to do
Where the,
like straight up untouchables, would that be a city like a city? I mean, a ward hopping romp of an adventure, or would that be like there'd be an ideal place to do it?
Like if you just wanted to do cop stuff 24/7, you'd probably be in the Guild Ward. That's kind of the business area of the city. All of the trade guilds are based there. Um, so you'd have a lot of robberies. You'd have a lot of kind of upper middle class people that don't live there but they work there. It's kind of like the closest thing the city has to Wall Street.
Let's see. How about it, Brian? You got a suggestion?
I feel like one of the forms of the martial arts needs to be the form of the chupacabra. Um, and
Of course you do.
the
Nice.
second one is the jackalope, the
The
form
jack-
of the jackalope.
I'm sure he's going to take this under advisement.
I am going
Oh
to take
my
it
God.
under advisement. I won't do it, but I'll take it under advisement.
Right on. Cool deal. Well, I just want to say thanks to everybody who came out and watching me scribble. I'm gonna probably finish this up, which I can do a lot faster when I'm not like pressing buttons and moving things around. And then we'll post this up and link it back to the Kickstarter. So Chuck's City of Solstice, which is kind of like a medieval version of the Untouchables, is on Kickstarter right now. If you're into role-playing games or if you're into fantasy, there's a lot to love about this. He's got a couple of days left to push this over the edge and make sure that it funds. If you're into stuff like this and you want to see it supported, support local writers and people getting things done, hit him up. Send them a message on Facebook. Get the links. We'll post the links here in with the video. And just want to say thanks for everybody coming out. Thanks for hanging, Brian. Appreciate it always. And Chuck, thanks for giving us time on a Friday night to get some scribbles on.
Fun as always.
Cool. Bounce. We're out.
Cool deal. Cool. It stopped.